Hello, this is the Game Philosopher, and today we're talking about definitions in the How to Argue series. So, anyway, a lot of people have different definitions. The big reason for this is because a lot of people understand things differently. If you do not understand interpretation, or if you want to learn more about it, go to my previous video. But when talking about definitions, there's a lot of things people would think of as a very, how should I put it, common sense thing. In a sense that you would define things by with the dictionary, I would say. But I'm going to say that's not necessarily true. There were times when there was no dictionary before Webster, before all those guys, before any of that. And men have always disagreed on, even with the dictionaries, what certain terms meant and um, what makes up something. And this gets into a lot of times the discussion within the categories and several other places of the organon, talking about accidents, essences, substance, forms, all this stuff. But today I'm going to talk about definitions in the sense of how things can be basically reduced and defined. So when we're looking for a definition, we're not looking for the accidental quality. For example, I'm a man, I have a red beard and a dirty blonde hair. But this does not make all men have red beards and dirty blonde hair, nor are all men with the same body type as I have. Not all men have all five fingers, although most do. So it can be instances where the man could have his finger cut off. It's just that these are not essential qualities that would make up a man. Now, what we're looking at with essential qualities, I think this would actually be how we would define a definition because we're looking at a commonly understood thing, something that everyone could agree with, not just what I can say. Like, I could say anything I want. I could say that all men believe this about this, all men believe that about that. And there's a lot of problems with this. In fact, there's so many different cultural uh, views on what makes up a man with manliness and all that such things are actually superficial. And now you could probably argue those things. That's fine. But when we're looking at definitions, that does not make up a man. What makes up a man, a person, would be more of what we can all agree on. Men have two legs, except for they get it cut off. But by the way, if we're looking at it from the Aristotelian or the peripatetic standpoint, even might think about uh, men having five fingers wouldn't matter if it got cut off because that guy had five fingers at one point, or if someone had a deformity that they would grow an extra finger that would be still within the realm that they're still men, but it's just a very odd, unique case because not all men have five fingers because there are accidents that could happen that get cut off or that would cause someone to grow an extra one somewhere in their development. Uh, but in the truly peripatetic sense, a lot of times people would define man as a two-legged animal. Actually, this goes back to Plato, and Diogenes would make fun of this by plucking a chicken so that there'd be a featherless biped, a biped with a two-legged animal. It's like, this is Plato's man, and he throws it. And so essentially, he's making fun of this because this is not an essential quality. These are accidents. But some would say, a lot of times in the Platonic and the Peripatetic tradition, these are still substances which are essential qualities because most men, except for in special cases, will have this. Most chickens will have this if you pluck their uh, feathers out. But then again, can we really define such a person by such a low quality? And this becomes a big problem when we're discussing personhood, because not all people are, or not all things are persons. If they are featherless, if they have two legs, five fingers, all this stuff. Because I could probably say, like, shave a monkey and throw the monkey out and say, "Behold, a man." But then again, we'd still have some difficulties because that person is, that thing, that monkey does not have a lot of the qualities which we think of when we think of a man. The monkey would not have the ability to speak a coherent language, for example. The monkey does not have the same style of reason that men have. The monkey doesn't have the powers of a man. The monkey is a monkey. And the monkey does what monkeys do. The monkeys climb trees. They're very strong. Men are not like that. So that's some difficulty when it comes to defining uh, definitely what a definition is. That these essential qualities can kind of get muddied and blurred when we're talking about things, even from the physical standpoint, because there are cases where things are become a little different, and so not all the time can we find a definition that would be proper, but we can find a general definition which could still be functional, such as the two-legged animal. But then again, there are people who would be like, define this, define this, define this. What does this mean? What doesn't? This is all good. This is seeking the definition, but seeking the definition sometimes can be at the cost of the more simple things. And this itself, which is the pursuit of this objectivity, when we're looking at the definitions, when we're looking at essential qualities, we are going to determine that it is seeking a scientific knowledge of something. So if I'm asking the question, what is the essential qualities of justice? I'm looking for the scientifically, what makes up justice. If I'm looking for the essential qualities of a bird, I'm looking at what would make up a bird. And since everyone has to agree with it, I can make an argument and say these are essential qualities. Now, this does not mean that it's uh, forever going to be the essential qualities unless I have a perfect definition, which not you don't always have the perfect definition. So this makes a lot of times discussion very difficult. Now, this is not to say that objective quality does not exist, because there is objectivity that is doable. For example, if you take a perfect syllogism and say all men are mortal, Socrates is a man, therefore Socrates is mortal. Now that itself has some problems, because not uh, all mortal. Well, if I would have said all mortals were men, well, there are animals that could be difficult. But with this, with the predicality, uh, all men are mortal. You get man being mortal. So there's a predicative relationship between man and mortal. So if I were to say mortals, all mortals are men, it kind of changes the assumption up. So you think about that for a second, and you'll see how it changes it up. Because if all mortals were men, that would make dogs men, and we get into these really messy loops when we refuse to accept uh, these categorical things. And so, really, if you're looking at a definition, you really need to stack on the logic. You need to stack on the predicality. You have to do all the categorical work in order to get to the definition of what makes up something in an essential sense. Now, this is the Game Philosopher. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Remember to look at my previous videos in this How to Argue series, and enjoy your day and your week.